Are there any other poets in the house?
I love you, friends.
Got a few other poets in the house?
I know some.
Even if you don't know whether or not you're a poet, if you have any poetry in you, you are desperately needed. There are less than 300 words in Hamlet's soliloquy, less than 300 in the Gettysburg Address. There are less than 300 in Stopping by the Woods in a snowy evening.
That's a good one.
But there are 15,629 words in the U.S. Department of Agriculture's directive pamphlet on the pricing of cabbage.
Don't read it, Brendan.
We need people who use the language well. If you have a little poetry in you, please share it with somebody else.
I have a cookie. I'll read a little something.
No, that's not. I was saying, actually, we're going to finish up the poetry show, but stick around throughout the show. There may be a free-for-all later. It is an art gallery in Hollywood, after all.
No, that's not beautiful poems. Do us one more.
Yes, absolutely. Do you ever notice when you're having a bad day, it feels like you had a lousy childhood as well? And somebody with the best of intentions will say something cryptic to you like, "The last thing I want to do is hurt you." And you're thinking, wait, the last thing? This is the last thing I want to do is hurt you. Come on! Come on! The last thing I want to do is hurt you. Before that, my love, long before that, I'd like to learn another language. Maybe Portuguese, though people tell me Hindi and Mandarin are the future, the tongues of men on the moon. Which reminds me, before I hurt you, I want to go to space and float like a wing. What do you think happens to birds in zero gravity? Do they panic or relax? Finally relax. Do they become fish? Someone must know by now, some astro or cosmonaut who said mostly to himself, "Don't be afraid. I just want to know if you can live without doing what you must." The last thing I want to do is hurt you. After I see the Grand Canyon, the pyramids of Giza, the little cave at La Verna where St. Francis slept and listened to God and went blind. First, I want to see my home again, my heavy home, the breakable life I already know. I want to have some visions too, angels or ghosts or natural disasters. I want to warn the village, any village. The dam is breaking, the fire is building, the air is filling with cows. Time to make a list. How mad will you be? If you don't swim the 100 seas, don't dive the sky, never go to the Cobra show. My love, you can take it out on me. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Ustak.
Give it up for Brendan Constantine. Keep up your nugget.
Go, girl.
Origin poem. When my big toenail falls off one day, it's the season of flip-flops on the beach, and it cracks off without warning like a crispy potato chip. I think, who's gonna love a girl with a missing toenail? 2/3 missing, while 1/3 clings on for dear life. I could be all things desire, but if the man found me barefoot, I'm sure his tongue would turn back into his mouth and some door inside him would shut. The nail leaving my body is a confusing thing. Something like an oyster shell attempts to grow back in its place. My brother, 2 years my senior, suggests I twine a big shark tooth into the empty space. I kind of like the idea. A new defense mechanism. How the rest of me would evolve into it and say, fuck the ones who don't like my new shark tooth toenail and love the ones who can smile at something so foreign. Shark thing, I'd call myself. No shoes necessary, the Atlantic would call my name like a pretty-faced pirate, and we'd sail off the map, sinking into a new strangeness that fits perfectly. My brother said if you didn't have to look at the toe, he might like this poem. And I think about how ugly reads well on paper, how sacred it is in its distance when we read it in a book, but how glared at in person, our eyes becoming two scalpels that want to expel the unexpected forms that our dying bodies take. So I put my toe under the sand, a shell over my foot, and I stay pretty this way, all covered up, all whole. Thank you.
Guys, you've been baptized in poetry. How do you feel? Do you feel weird? Do you feel ready for more? Are you guys having a good time? Cool. This poem is about having an eating disorder. Can we get real with each other? Can we get real back there? So for the last several years, I have been in and out of recovery for an eating disorder, and it is something that I want to say each time I do a poetry reading and each time I'm in a room full of people, especially in this city. It is something that I feel like men don't talk about a lot, and I think that it is possible for us to erase the shame from it. It is a very strange thing to navigate the world with an eating disorder and redefine your relationship with a basic survival function. And a thing that is weird is that if you've ever been to a restaurant, who here's been to a restaurant? You go to a restaurant and like, it's your birthday, they're gonna bring you some free shit that maybe you don't need. And that's a moment. And so this poem is about that. This is the thing that happened. This poem is called Ode to the Slice of Chocolate Cake Brought Out by the Server, Unrequested, for my birthday. Amen the frosting, whipped into stiff peaks, not unlike my nipples upon receiving that scent. Obscene garden, roses dragged through post-coital sheets, and yes, of course, the sugar. Yeah. That sounds coming from my body. Amen, the sugar. So fine, rising up, swirling in kitchen air, braiding into itself like a strand of DNA, vicious helix, heart drinker, wicked cloud, wraith-like wedding gown fitted to my giddy blood. Amen, the blood, offered up as sacrifice. Parade of red goats led to cloying altar to this darkened hatchet. This nearly sentient cliff where I await in flowing robes of chocolate. Chocolate smeared across my eyes and singing chocolate prayers in sacred alphabets of chocolate. And amen, the chocolate in all its forms, clustered around the peanut butter, veiling the donut, dotting the cookie, pure and in bricks, as kiss, as yes, as lover stay with me tonight, as bride, as wedding, as wild wedding dance, as marriage bed, as good long life, walking the beloved through the garden, growing old and still together, as gentle yawning death, as unshared burial plot, and amen the sharing, from server to me. Amen the server, who heard the word birthday and made something good in her heart and sliced, possibly the slice herself, perhaps rinsed first the knife, perhaps being barked at by lusty customers and savage management, perhaps thinking I can at least make one day today and chose mine, and amen her choosing, and her easy grace, rudely tussled by a wearing shift, and maybe she needs to give me this cake. Certainly more than I need to eat it. And certainly she is not thinking eating disorder, because who has been trained to think eating disorder? Because what harm can it be? After all, this isn't a bottle of wine, a platter of cocaine, just cake. Just a plain and harmless slice of cake, and amen the cake itself. Towering like the Flatiron Building at midnight. A Flatiron Building full of assassins. Plucking me through windows and humming and sharpening their blades. And amen the blades my eyes begin to make at her. As she sets down the plate, smiling like she is not death. Like what she bears is not the tool I'll use to pry my heart from my body and pin it like a badge to the burning coat of night. And amen then the quickness with which I sheathe these blades and beam and offer thank you. And oh boy, I am so full. Will you bring me a box so I can eat this at home? What a perfect looking piece. Oh, thank you. What a joy. And amen the joy to be dragged from disaster. And the joyful recognizing the dawn of disaster. And a joyful disaster is still a disaster. And amen me right now. Amen me. Engaging in the great work of growing older. And amen what is not me. The divine somehow. The opening the container and scraping the cake into the trash. And amen the hungry mouth of the trash. And the whole slice, the whole glittering slice, the little party, the night on the town, the angel-bound boat, full and perfect. Amen. It's tumbling into the trash and landing amongst the rotten mail, the bones and rind. And amen the time I have spent down there. And the time I will no longer spend. Oh, hear me. Hear me. Amen all I've had in common with the cake. A lump of heavy richness, motionless, without something's help. But today, only one of us, amen, a feast for flies. Thank you.
Ooh.